Thank you so much for being with me today. Really excited to learn more about all that you're doing. Can you just give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'm Danielle Grant, and I'm the president and CEO of Achieve Minneapolis.
Awesome. Can you share a little bit more about what Achieve Minneapolis does?
Sure, Achieve Minneapolis is primarily a college and career readiness organization. Achieve is number one, the strategic nonprofit partner of Minneapolis Public Schools. In that role, we serve as the foundation for Minneapolis Public Schools and raise money for strategic priorities. So that's kind of one side of the house. But what most people know about is the career and college readiness work that we do. So at Achieve Minneapolis, we run the Step Up Summer Employment Program with the City of Minneapolis and other partners, providing summer employment experiences for students within Minneapolis. We also have the Achieve College Internship Program, in which Achieve alumni are coming back following their junior year of college and getting those college internships, leading them into future employment. And then we have our Career and College Centers, which is probably our largest program. And the Career and College Centers are physical locations within Minneapolis and now St. Paul Public Schools, in which students can come in and get career and college advising, assistance, filling out applications with their FAFSA, learn about internships, learn about different career paths, just pretty much all that they're going to need to start making those future plans. So, we work with approximately 20,000 young people every year through all of our programs.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. 20,000. And always growing, I'm sure.
It has grown significantly over the last few years as we've moved into St. Paul.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, we're not in normal times. What has the transition looked like for you as education and everything has changed? And there was online learning for a blip. What has been going on for the last 2 years?
Well, in Minneapolis and St. Paul Public Schools last year, they were in online learning the entire year with the exception of 3 weeks at the end of the year. So it basically was an entire school year in which people were working and learning from home. Basically to summarize what has changed is everything. We've had to completely reinvent everything that we do. So this school year, of course, we're back in buildings again, and there have been some internships that have moved back into in-person. But I will say what has changed is there's much more hybrid, much more things that are remote. For Step Up, for example, when COVID hit, we basically lost every internship that we had planned that summer. And, we're usually talking about 750 internships for students 16 to 21, which is level 2, which is the level that Achieve works with. And we lost basically all of those internships and then had to try to create something for students to be able to do that summer and frankly to earn money as well, because these are paid internships. In a typical summer, our interns earn approximately $3 million. That's real money that is helping support their families. Yeah. And so it was a big concern. Fortunately, we were able to create some virtual internships as well as some paid online professional development opportunities. So students had the ability to go online and do some different career modules. And then if they completed all the modules, they would get a stipend. So students were able to earn some money. Summer of 2021, we were, once again, kind of increasing the number of hybrid, remote, or a few in-person internships, as well as continuing with that online training program. This year, we're really hoping to get our numbers back closer to about 450, because we really just have to rebuild. A lot of employers who have been with our Step Up program for a very long time and are really committed to employers are still working remotely.
Right.
And so it's a big thing to wrap your brain around. How am I going to supervise and mentor a high school student in what's usually their first professional work experience, either hybrid or remote, right? So we're lucky now that we have lots of examples of how this has worked successfully, and people can then start thinking about it and modeling it for their own situation in their own company. So we're really trying to kind of rebuild that now. So that was completely challenging. Also, when school was completely remote, we had to take everything online. So, we took all this one-on-one advising and, helping students fill out college applications, like all of that we just had to do. It was like Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, Zoom, like WebEx, we'll do all of it. Like basically anything that would work. Our career experiences, where we used to be able to like bring volunteers into the school. We'd have a STEM event, for example, at say like Henry High School. And so we'd bring people with careers in STEM to come and talk to young people with career interest in that area. Well, we weren't able to do that, obviously, but we were able to take it all online. So we would do a Zoom session in which students would be able to Zoom in, and we'd have a virtual panel. We were able to record all those panels, so we do have that now as kind of a career experience library that students are able to use. And we're trying to get back to more in-person events again. But it's still challenging because there are limits to how many people are allowed in school buildings right now, obviously. So, it's the career experiences, it's a little bit not as robust as it was able to be kind of before COVID, but I do think that we're finding ways to have it be good experiences for young people, and hopefully the adults enjoy it as well.
Absolutely. Pivot, right?
That's right. We've had to learn how to be really flexible and completely give up, well, this is the way we've always done it. Yeah. Right? Absolutely. So, when COVID hit, we were right in the middle of step up workforce development training. We do training for 2,000 young people every year with a training that's certified by the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce. And we had 2 of the sessions, and then the governor was shutting it down, and we were supposed to have 500 kids showing up on that Saturday. Oh my gosh. And it was and we're taking it online. And so it was very much just reinventing the car as we were driving it and trying to figure out how can we make some sort of good experiences for young people. Absolutely. I mean, no matter how all of us as adults have been impacted by the pandemic, it's nothing compared to what young people are going through. Right. And, young people are amazingly resilient, but I think everyone needs to be thinking about how disruptive would that be to your development as an adolescent, what they've been through the last couple years. Right. And so, what we've been talking about in youth development and education, right now it's all hands on deck, and everybody just needs to do everything that they can to make sure that this generation of young people can transition to adulthood successfully. Absolutely.
So we've recognized, disparities within our systems that existed prior to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. What have you seen as far as access to technology, and mm-hmm. have you seen some of these gaps widen? Yeah. How does that sort of show up for you as we mm-hmm. Technology, all mm-hmm. of this access?
Yeah, I think, in the spring of 2020 when everything shut down and was going online, we were all aware of the digital divide, right? And who has access to Wi-Fi, who's got devices, that's in the abstract. I think we were really aware of the disparities there. But it really became when in reality we needed to get these devices out to families and find out who needed access. It was very stark, very, very stark. And I will say the corporate community really did step up and work with Minneapolis Public Schools, specifically around making sure that there was access and there were devices, and it was really amazing, the overwhelming support that was thrown at schools, and thinking about what we needed to do to get everyone access, right? But you still had situations where you may have a family with 4 kids and 1 or 2 devices, right? And so that was very challenging. And there was a lot of effort out there to, get out there and put hotspots and boosters so the signals would get boosted because just the bandwidth wasn't there. Yeah. In some of these apartment buildings, you had to, Minneapolis Public Schools had to provide all these Wi-Fi hotspots because just the way the apartment building was structured, the signal wasn't getting from floor to floor. And when you had hundreds of kids all trying to log on at the same time, plus adults, right? It was really, really challenging. And, it was really like, that's an example of just this very stark difference in what you see between kind of the haves and have-nots, right? Because like some families were like, oh yeah, well they'll just go on their laptop in their room and they have, we've got high-speed internet and no problem. And then there are other folks who are like, kids are trying to log in on their mom's phone, right? So that was really, really challenging. And I think we kind of got through most of those humps, within that first 6 months. But there still are families that are under-resourced with devices, and we're back in school in person right now, and everyone is super happy about that. But there are then incidents where there is an outbreak in the school, and the entire school has had to shut down, or an entire class has to go home for 2 weeks and move back to online learning. So it's still important to be cognizant of those disparities. I'd also say, beyond just technology, food insecurity. We knew that it was there. It's a fact of life. But when you all of a sudden have all of these students who are used to getting breakfast and lunch at school every day, that was a huge, huge issue. So, the school districts were able to have drop sites, and families were able to pick up food for their student for the entire week. You'd get a bag full of breakfast and lunch items for the entire week. And, they even opened it up beyond, like, you didn't even have to show proof that your student was enrolled in Minneapolis Public Schools. It was just anyone under the age of 18. And I think that was really important to have those community locations in which you had that. But I think it's something that people don't traditionally think about. Right. And, we're filming this right now, right before winter break. I know that there'll be students who are going hungry during winter break, right? And, they have 2 weeks off. Frankly, everyone needs the break right now, staff and students alike. But there will be students who will be worried about where they're getting food next week. Right. And, that's just a reality.
Yeah. So what has been, of course, now understanding this need, so the role that either people can play or the role that volunteers have played, and how has that shifted as, we're navigating all these changes and going to digital?
Yeah, like I said, the corporate community really stepped up, and that's individuals as well as the companies themselves, just really saying, like, what do you need? And in our role as the foundation for the district, I was fielding a lot of those calls. Yeah. So it was, talking with different companies, Best Buy saying we would be willing to provide headphones. Yeah. For 10,000 students. If you got a bunch of kids at home and they're all like trying to do virtual learning, you do need those headphones. And so like, that's a really great example. I think that, with volunteers, like last year, people being willing to log on to Zoom and talk about their career was really, really important. And, our Step Up mock interviews that we do every year, it used to be, and hopefully it will again sometime, be this really amazing, like 4 evenings in a row.
I've done it.
Yeah, it's the funnest. Yeah. It is so fun. And like, I always would tell people, if you need to feel good about the future, like you need some like real positive energy, it's the best bang for your buck in volunteering that you possibly can do, because you go for like 3 hours. You end up sitting one-on-one talking to, 4 or 5 students. Yes. And they're so excited about the future, and like they're dressed up in like dad's tie or their church clothes, and they're really enthusiastic, and all they want to do is get a job. Yeah. And they're just really excited about the future, and you cannot leave there not having that excitement about the future. And so, we've managed now, we've taken them online. So we did them online last year. We are expanding that this year. So it was a really limited opportunity for volunteers last year. But this year there will be more opportunities. We're going to be having a lot more students engaged in it. So more to come. People can expect to hear more about that. Mock interviews are traditionally like late March, early April.
Absolutely. So just one of the things that we always think about as we're preparing people to show up as volunteers. So thinking about, this idea of when I arrive? Like, what should I know? This part of the series is sort of to just kind of give people context as to what are the true issues that people are facing. As you prepare volunteers to both do like the interviews and interact with students, are there some key things that you think volunteers should sort of think about, or ways that they should show up in these roles?
Yeah, I think, I mean, with real specific volunteer opportunities, like there's always like a little mini training, right? So we're not going to just set you loose with a bunch of students without like going through some, here's what to expect, here's some fundamentals, and like how everything's going to run. So like we'll do those very specific little mini sessions at the onset. But in general, like I just like to tell people, just come with an open heart and an open mind. Young people are amazing, and they know if you're authentic or not. So they will be able to tell if you want to be there or you don't want to be there, like you got dragged here or something. They can tell, and they're not going to respond well to someone who they don't think is there to learn and have their, be open to the experience, right? Like they can read you, they absolutely have the ability to just read you 100%, and they'll call you out on it, some of them, right? So I think, making sure that you're there, like really open to the experience, curious about young people and their experience, and, not make any assumptions about their background or where they're coming from, but, ask them questions and be open to, hearing what they have to say.
Yeah, definitely. So can you give us some concrete ways that people could actually take action, where they can go to find out more information about how they can volunteer with Achieve Minneapolis or your partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at Achieve specifically, you can go to our website, www.achievempls.org, and find out information there about volunteer opportunities. Like our big one, of course, with a lot of people is the Step Up mock interviews. But there's other things that we're looking for. You can shoot us a message on there if you are interested in sharing a career journey, because when we do those events, and we have been doing career events back in schools, they're just a little more limited than they once were, just because we have to limit the number of people who can come in. But if you have a career that you're interested in talking to young people about, shoot us an email, and we absolutely will plug you in when we have need for that. So that's probably what I would say. But I think most nonprofits do have the need for volunteers. They don't always have the steady need for a ton of volunteers all at the same time, right? But they'll take your name down, and you will hear from them when they need you, right? So I think, part of it is identifying an area of passion that you're really interested in, that you would like to get involved in as a volunteer. And then, put out feelers to the organizations that are in the community that are doing that type of work, because they absolutely do need you, just not maybe like this month, but they'll keep you, trust me. They will keep your name and information and let you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Danielle, is there anything else that you wanted to share about Achieve Minneapolis, or how volunteers can better show up that we haven't covered already?
Nothing that I can really think of. I mean, I'm appreciative to be able to have this conversation with you. Achieve, this is our, in 2022, this is our 20th anniversary of working with young people. And so that's a lot of years and a lot of young people. And, I can tell you, we see what the difference this has made for the alumni. There's a lot of alumni out there, after 20 years of this, the young people are maybe not quite so young people anymore, that are out there in the working world, and they got their start through the programs at Achieve Minneapolis. And we're just really grateful for the community to be so supportive of the work that we do on behalf of our young people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing more information with us, contextualizing this experience for volunteers, and for the amazing work that you do, and all of the pivots and all of the transitions that you and your team have made over the last several years. Well, over the last 20 years, right? We're always growing and learning. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.